Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our online Maximize Success virtual meeting. And we are here with Lori Yeager, the owner and founder of Pop HR, and Brenda Kiss for our B Kiss, is that consulting or is that she's our Reiki master. And we're very, very excited to have both of these strong women be able to teach us a little bit about their expertise and how it can help us as entrepreneurs and business owners. So our topic of conversation today is built around the entrepreneur who succeeds in business and really in life is one who truly knows his or her own strengths and builds a business around them. So we're really focusing on building your business around your strengths and then hiring your team and building your team to cover your weaknesses. So we're going to have no better than the best HR professional, Lori Yeager, give us a little bit of some tips and some information about how the importance of knowing our own strengths and how we can build a thriving team to build a better business. So thank you, Lori, for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me and asking me to chat about this. It's one of my favorite topics. I love and very passionate about talking about people in general, and especially as it relates to businesses, and then especially even more so how it relates to good leaders taking advantage of, in a positive way, of the people that they surround themselves with, because we can't do anything alone in this world. We need others. So I'm very happy to chat about it.
True.
So I really, just want to talk about some kind of basic things, because in all my years of doing human resources, and there's been many, over 30, it still surprises me to this day how often people forget the very basics of leadership and of building teams, and just even more basic than that, or more simple, I should say, or more foundational than that, is we forget that just the things we learned in kindergarten, not to sound trite, but just being polite and sharing and asking questions and waiting for answers, those kinds of things make a huge difference as we're building teams around us. And I imagine everyone that has the interest to be participating in this call today, you've done a lot of work on yourself, right? You've done a lot of work trying to think about what is that you want to do, what do you want to do for a living, what's your passion, what's your why. And I think it's important that we spend time on kind of what's your who and who are you surrounding yourself with, so that you can leverage your strengths. Many of you and many of us in general, we're successful because we have strengths, and we've learned that we should capitalize on those strengths and not spend a lot of time on our weaknesses necessarily. But today's topic about talking about how to leverage those strengths is important when it comes to getting the right people around you to help build you and help expand your business. And if you think about it, the word leveraging, definition of that is when you use something for your maximum advantage. So when we talk about leveraging your strengths for your business, or leveraging your team of people that are working with you or that you need to build to get your business to its maximum potential, you need to use something to get that to maximum potential. And when you think about the word leveraging in business, most of us think about, well, I'm going to borrow capital so I can go build or expand my business. So when we get to leveraging people to help us, what we're actually doing is that if you want to think about it in a way of, instead of borrowing capital, we're borrowing or utilizing or enhancing other people's skills and talents and experience so that we can build and expand our own business. Because as I said earlier, we just can't do it all on our own. I think one of the things, as I was referencing earlier, when you're an entrepreneur, many times you started off by yourself, right? You had a great idea, or you had a passion for something. Or maybe it was you and a couple other folks. And maybe those folks got together with you because you had a level of expertise and you had a concept that you wanted to bring to life, or a vision that you wanted to bring to life. And let's say you got that rolling and it's out there in the world and people are positively reacting to that, and then it's growing and it's multiplying, but all of a sudden you're realizing that you and your couple other folks that got things started, you can't keep up, and you need more people like you. And I think that's one of the first things where people go a little bit off track because of what I just said. They need more people like them. And in many cases, it's not what you need. In many cases, you need people that are complementary to you. So you're not going to know if someone's complementary to you unless you know yourself really well. So when I said earlier about know your who, in addition to knowing your why, who are you, and what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you need to get your business to the next level? So when you get to that point, that is something that you really need to spend some time thinking about. And I've seen people miss this very important, and I would say business critical step, because they think, oh, I know what I do well, what I don't do well. And you may, and that's awesome. But then you also need to think about how you know that as it relates to how you're building your business and what that next step is in your business. So when you do that, when you think about what's my current state of my business, what's my current state of me, who am I, what are my current skill sets, what do I know, what do I need to know, and then that future state, where is it that I'm going, and as I just said, what do I need to know to help me to get there? So when you identify that and you say, oh geez, I really should know, presentation skills, and I should know this, and I need to learn this software and that software. Well, that can be very overwhelming, and then people find themselves saying, well, you know what, that's scary, and I don't want to do that, or I don't have time for that, because if I take time to go learn that class or go learn that software, that's taken away from my business and there's no one else to run it. That can happen, but that doesn't mean that's your only alternative, right? You can start looking for other people and start talking to other people, and use your network. Certainly maximize and take advantage of your network, and start looking for those skill sets that you don't have currently. So that's where it comes, where it's so important to understand what your own current strengths are and what it is that you need, because that's how you start filling in the gap, is when you start saying, I really need someone that can do X, Y, Z for me. Yes, I could do it. Yes, I did it for 5 years. Yes, I busted my butt getting this business going, and I know how to do it, and I know how I want it done. But is that the best use of my time right now? Is that the best use of my resources? And resources meaning everything from time, money, commitment. So thinking about those things becomes hugely important, and realizing what are the things that I can, for lack of a better word, delegate, or what can I hire for or hire to, so that I'm free to continue to do the things that I'm best at in growing my business. So again, just to kind of summarize that point, is stop a moment, take a self-assessment of where your current state is with your business and with yourself and your own strengths and capabilities, and where is it that you want to go, your future state, and what is that gap, and not even just the gap in the business, from how to get from point A to point B. We all know how to business plan at this point, I would imagine, but from a people capital standpoint, from a human resources standpoint, what kind of people and what kind of skill sets do you need to bring to the table so that you can grow and you can expand and really leverage your strengths, because your strengths are only going to be leveraged when you have the ability and the time and resources to leverage them. And if you're getting bogged down every day by doing the invoicing and whatever it may be, some of the more some of the tasks that you may not need to do that others could do, you're just inhibiting yourself. So taking a look at that current state, future state, and then saying, okay, here's what I need. So what do you do once you identify that? Most people panic and like, oh my God, I can't afford to pay somebody to bring on board or whatever. Well, that's a whole nother discussion for another day. There's lots of ways to do that, but let's assume that you know that you need to bring some people on your team. I think one of the things that's, again, very critical at this stage is doing some of the basics. Taking a moment to think, what do I want this person's job description to be? What goals do I need them to accomplish? What are their responsibilities going to be? Because you could have a thought in your head like, oh, I just love if I had someone coming in here 3 days a week just to take care of this or that. And that's understandable. But when that person comes in and all of a sudden they're like, okay, so what would you like me to do today? And you're like, I don't know, but I know there's things that need to be done. I know there's things that you can help me with. I'll get to you on that. And then you have someone every hour asking you, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? So again, it's kind of in the planning. So it doesn't have to be formal, but putting together in your head and then also on paper, a job description of what it is you're looking for and what skill sets, ideally, the person would have, the right candidate would have for that role. And then going out and doing your search for that person, whether you advertise on Indeed or whether, you use someone like me to help you find somebody, whatever it may be, you find that person and then you actually can conduct a good interview with that person at that point when you've taken the time to actually outline what you need to do. And then, of course, when you go through the interview process and you select that perfect person, just kind of fast forwarding here, they're on board, they're working. Another myth that I see people do a lot when they're trying to leverage their strengths is that they just assume the person understands what it is they want them to do. And the beauty of having other people work with you is that everybody's different in the diversity of thought and the diversity of the skills and the ideas, that come to them. That just helps you be a better person. But what can be unfortunate and often overlooked in those situations is if you don't take time to chat with the person and touch base with them and explain the context of what their role is and how that role fits into your vision of your business, then it's very limiting for them to perform well. And I think personally, whenever I coach leaders and executives, it's all about how are you setting your team up to be as good or better than you? Like I always say, I like to hire the smartest and the most qualified person that I can around me because that just makes me look better, right? And not in a selfish way, but it makes me and my product and my output look better when I have really smart, good people around me. But it's not going to help me or you to have really qualified, excellent people around you if they don't understand really what it is your vision is and what they bring to the table. So what I mean by that is when people understand kind of the why around what they're doing, so you bring somebody on board, you've interviewed them, you know what their skill sets are, you know what their education is, whatever it may be, but you say, that's great. I just need you to start doing this task, work on these tasks, work on these projects. And a lot of work can get done. And you may be thinking, wow, this is great. This person's really helping me. It's an extra pair of hands. It's an extra brain to think. It's whatever it may be. However, eventually what will happen, I don't know that for sure, but in many cases that I've experienced, what I've seen is that all of a sudden that, for lack of a better word, that trajectory of performance and momentum starts sliding downhill, because it gets to a point where after the person is new for a while and they're doing a lot of things and it's almost like a honeymoon period, you're like, oh, this is just so wonderful. But if you're not having constant communication and looping that person in with and keeping touch points of conversations about where it is you're going and what you're trying to accomplish and how they're contributing to that, people start losing their way. And so, Brenda, if you're bringing somebody on into your organization and it's very clear, what you're doing and what you want people to do, and you're off doing your thing and doing it well, and you've got someone going off doing their thing, well, if they're not really sure about what it is you want to do, or if they're not clear on the context of what they're trying to accomplish, they're going to start filling in those blanks for themselves. And that's fine. That's what smart, resourceful people do. They say, I don't have an answer right here, so what makes the most sense? So they're going to think and they're going to take action. And it works out really well when they think along the lines that you do, and that's aligned. But if they don't, because they're people, right? And they have different ideas and thoughts. But if they think, well, I really think this is the best idea, or best path to travel, then they start going down a little bit different path. And it may be very minuscule and very minor initially that you may not even notice it. And then you may find out down the road, and this is, of course, I'm talking about the trouble areas, that's when you realize this person has become very divergent from what your goal or what your vision or what your purpose was. So I share all that with you to talk. Bringing it back to how we leverage our strengths. Leveraging our strengths. One of the best ways to do it is very simple, but it's making sure that you take some scheduled time to have conversations with your team. And people say, well, I don't need to sit down and talk with Lori. You know, I'm around her all day long. For goodness sake, we sit right next to each other, or, you know, we're in the same room all day long, or we're in the car together traveling all day long. But unless you actually say, hey, let's talk about X, Y, and Z, or let's talk about, you know, the goals that we had outlined for this month and how are we performing against those. That just doesn't come up in everyday conversation when you're sitting next to each other. So it's very, very important. And I've seen leaders be way more successful and business owners be way more successful when they take that step to have, I usually just call them one-on-ones, you know, just making sure that you're having some one-on-one time with that person. And if you can have an agenda for it, not that it has to be that structured, but if the person knows, you know, exactly what it is that you're going to be talking about and they can prepare before they sit down with you, it makes it for a much more productive meeting. And it doesn't have to be a meeting like an hour long. It could be 15 minutes. But I see many issues get resolved with business owners and things be much more efficient when they take 5 or 10 or 15 minutes to have a one-on-one. I mean, that's why a lot of, you know, we know traditionally like police departments and, you know, healthcare fields, that's why they have roll calls in the, you know, before their shift or pre-shift meetings. Now that's a group setting, but, you know, for a small to mid-sized business owner, if you've got a small team and you can have a quick, you know, kind of pre-shift, for lack of a better word, and then have some time where you can meet one-on-one just to make sure everybody's on the same page and marching together in the right direction. That's really helpful.
Yeah, that's really, obviously as the expert, I mean, that is such a huge point to really nail in, because yes, you're starting with knowing your strengths. I mean, that's obviously really important. And then building a team around you, like you said, to complement the areas where you're not as strong so you can run a successful organization. But then just on the day-to-day activities, in terms of just being able to relate and communicate with your employees. Some of the experience that I've had and have read and we discussed also was that they can give you so much more of like the front line information in terms of what the customers are experiencing, maybe some of the interactions of the day-to-day between staff. So it just gives you a little bit more of a ground as a business owner that might be dealing with the bigger things of like marketing, finances, just the higher level of operations. It gives you a little bit more ground level synergy of the day-to-day things that you can keep on top of. So I really appreciate that. I mean, that's very eye-opening things, Lori, and I love how you talked about, you know, your current state, really identifying your current state of who you are as an entrepreneur and business owner, and having your goals for your future state, and then really being able to identify what you need right now to build your team. And I think that no better time than to be able to segue into Brenda as we have the opportunity to maybe just take a few minutes to discuss really how to identify your current state. And we've talked about before in the past, like your emotional intelligence as a leader and how important that is for your success as a leader and building a successful team, which obviously leads to building a successful organization. So could you just give us a little follow-up on all the great things that Lori spoke about and how we can develop ourselves better as leaders by knowing our strengths?
Sure. Lori, such valuable information that you just shared. And I think a big piece in all of that is people may or may not understand the value and everything that they see due to their own limiting beliefs that they have. Right. I think one of the most important things that you had said, actually 2 things that really have stood out to me was, and I actually was going to talk about, so I think it's so awesome, was one is discovering who you are. And the trick is you have to know who you are beyond the fear and limitations that you put on yourself, not you, Lori, but people put on themselves. And so who you think you are versus who you truly are might not be the same person. So investing in understanding your strengths, as you said, and who you are is really, really important. Because if you're running a life from limiting beliefs or fear, that's not the truth of who you are. The other part that you said that I thought was really important was, I call it setting boundaries, and you said delegating. And I don't know if you actually said delegating. I thought delegating when you were talking about hiring others. And I want to say to really, as entrepreneurs, and I'm going to say most of the people listening to this are women, we have many roles as an entrepreneur, not only in the business world, but also in our personal life as well. And so taking what Lori said and learning how to not only implement that into your practice, your business, but also into your home life, like delegating and hiring people that are going to help you with highlight your strengths even more. Is so important. Finding that time to where to put your energy in and where somebody else can put energy in to bring you both up. And I want to say that's not just in business, but that's also in your home life. As an entrepreneur, you have to decide, time and balance as far as when you're working and when you're not working. And so finding ways to delegate at home is also really important. Right? So you can create leadership in your home life as well as leadership in business. And that, I think, is one of the biggest keys as entrepreneurs. Something I learned a long time ago was to hire people that can do a job that's less than $25 an hour, so that you can actually spend time where you need to spend time to share your gifts with the world. Mm-hmm. And so, but then it comes back to potentially limiting beliefs. And you said it at part of your talk is like, oh my God, I don't know if I can afford to hire somebody. And honestly, the only reason you wouldn't be able to afford somebody is because you have that belief that you can't afford somebody. And so really investing in understanding and getting rid of these belief systems or fears or the I can'ts because is really important to develop into that success, into that leadership entrepreneur that we all aspire to be. One of the things that I also want to just briefly say is that your business and the way that you show up at work or in your business is also a direct reflection of how you are personally. See, we show up and we do things not in one, the way we do something in one area of our life is the way we do something in all areas of our life. So if you're late or leave early or I'll finish that later, that's most likely how that happens in every single area of your life. So really honing in on yourself personally and what is it that your business shows you? What is it that your relationships show you? What is it that money shows you, or family, or accepting, or, lack of time shows you? Because the way things are flowing in your business or the way things are flowing in your home is a direct relationship of what's flowing inside you. And that's the energy that you have. And so learning how to, what I call, remove the chaos, remove the BS, the belief systems that aren't serving.
I like that.
And really just, begin to step into your truth so that you know who you are. You know your own job description, right? And so then you know your strengths, your job description, and now you have a clearer vision of who you need to hire, what you need to delegate, because you know and believe in what you can do.
That makes me think of the term vulnerability, right? Because I have a lot of things that are, coming to the top of mind, but it's like we're talking about knowing your strengths, building a team together to complement the things that are your opportunities, areas for growth, and And then, like you segued into, is really identifying who you think you are versus who you really are.
Mhm.
And that's, I think that's where that there's a powerful disconnect for some people, and really being able to take a true look and do the work to be able to set yourself up for success. And having the courage to be able to really self-reflect and work on, I know you don't like to say weaknesses, right, but areas for improvement. So
Yeah.
we're looking forward to the 4 series, the Thursday over the next few months. Can you just give us a quick overview of what that would look like? And
Yeah, so that's a monthly series that we're going to do over the next 4 months, and it's called Better You, Better Your Business. Like I said, yourself is a direct reflection, your business is a direct reflection of yourself. And so the first series is the first evening. It's all going to be about removing the chaos, removing the BS, the belief systems that aren't serving you, identifying who you are and where you want to go. And I want to say, not where you want to go, what are the blocks that are keeping you from where you want to go? Because once we remove those blocks, then we can move forward. The second month is going to be about setting boundaries, and not just setting boundaries at work, but setting boundaries for yourself. What is it that you need to do to show up for your best? What is it that you need your household to show up for you to all function at your best? And what do you need to do to show up at your best at work? So setting boundaries, that comes to when we talked about delegating and hiring people. To me, that's learning to set boundaries. What is it that you're good at? What is it that you excel at? And where can you then set those boundaries to have other people fill in? And then when we, remove the BS and identify where we want to go, we want to then create the life. How do we create the business that you want and how do we create, who do you have to be to show up for that business to become true, right? Because that's the energy that we need, is to be within us so that we can push that out to the business.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly is staying in integrity, because the truth is, if we're not showing up the way we need to show up, how is the business going to show up that way?
That's right.
So learning to stay in integrity.
So yeah, this series is going to start Thursday, June 13th at 7 p.m. at Mending Minds in Linwood. So you can get some more information on the Empower Mentors group website and through Brenda. So we'll be posting that. And there's a lot of very valuable information today. When we get strong, powerful women together, it's amazing what kind of information can come out. And I hope that each and every one of us is able to take a little something, right? We always like to say it's one thing to have information, but it's another thing to be able to take something out of it and put it into action. So I inspire and empower each and every one of you to be able to take a little something out of the information from Lori and from Brenda and be able to put it into yourself as an entrepreneur and live the life that you truly deserve. So thank you so much, my lovely ladies. And until we meet again. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Awesome. Have a great weekend.
Have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.